Hey, I'm just gonna send this video as someone who likes to celebrate 4th of July. As you can see, I have my best suit, which is a personalized one, and I just want to thank to this great generation. I think which I'm seeing today, like all these young people in different colors on the street are taking down the statues, and I see the difference between this movement, generation movement, and the last civil uh, right movement during the 80s, 60s, and 50s. So this one is more colorful. But the point of this small video is about President Trump. I think he is the last Confederate president because he insists to divide us as a community. Insists to divide us as a country. Remember the June 19th, which has a meaning in the history of this country, which is the most outrageous massacre, Russian massacre that took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, in a black neighborhood, which is burned down and thoroughly was destroyed. All the writers they said to be free didn't happen anything. All these chief police they joined the writers back then in no justice. So Trump he was trying to go. He says it, and he knew what was that date because he said it. He was trying to go in Tulsa, Oklahoma to celebrate. What he wants to celebrate? The writers back then, 1921. If he wants us to celebrate, to unify the country, the people, why he didn't go in Arizona, where the last black community was set to be free during the slavery, 1835. Why he didn't go there, make some speech to unite the country, to heal the wounds that still open in our society. That's why so many young people now is taking down all these statues. And as the flag of the United States, it doesn't represent our society. The United States flag represents the 13th colonial European, the Continental Congress. That's the meaning of the flag. So that's why we create this flag. It's a diversity flag. That the new generation of change that represents us as indigenous people. And today, as a 4th of July, what Trump is doing in North Dakota, going to Mountain Rushmore monuments, Lincoln, Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Truman, the four probably presidents that did they make something really good in the history of this country. But because we can't roll back what was what George Washington did and Lincoln did. We can't roll back. We most of it bad things, but there's some good things, which has influences me as a writer, as a Maya, as someone who was raised here in this country. The history of the United States, the history of George Washington. I see it as someone important that he organized a militia against the King of England during the founding of this country, and they won. And that means something of this in the history of this country, in my personal life too, because one day probably it will influences me to be someone. Same with Lincoln, what he did to end the slavery, it was a good thing. But all these four images that stands in a Black Hill sacred land, Dakota's relatives, community, Native American land, represents the white history. It doesn't represent us as indigenous people. So that's why I appreciate those young people that they protesting, because those images, they must be taken down and put it with something else that represents the colorful of this country, because this country, it has become stronger and stronger because the diversity of this country. So that's why I think the last president, Confederation president, the last president that is still with this idea with the Civil War, I think is going to be Donald Trump. But happy 4th of July, and we can learn a lot about our history as a humans. But we must stay united. We must stay seeking for the happiness for everybody. And this is still the greatest country. And one day, and I hope all the rest of the countries can become with the same policies, but not under the foreign policies of the United States. I mean with the domestic policies that really, really works for our society in this country. So maybe one day we don't have to see more people coming in through the southern border. Why? Because it's all about foreign policies. So this is something like 4th of July. It's something that we can talk about the history of this country and what we can do as a human to make it better and to make it the rule of others, the law in others, country, the respecting of each other. Thank you guys, and share this video, and happy 4th of July. And this is our new flag. And thank you guys for being out there, especially for those new generation. It is a colorful movement going on out there. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.